Hello everyone, this is officially a review for Summer Boardwalk 2013 limited edition candle from Bath & Body Works White Barn Candle Company. But I figured I would take the time, since most folks know what this smells like, and really we're just here to sort of discuss the scent, really. I figured I would talk about a little bit of the history of the fragrance itself. Obviously, it's a returning scent from last year, exactly as we know it as Summer Boardwalk, but we also, most folks are aware that it's sort of based originally on the salty or salted caramel candles. So, I figured I'd talk a little bit about all four of those. So I've got those here to add to the mix from the past couple of years. And figured I would sort of, again, give the release history of these, talk a little bit about the marketing, as everyone, knows I'm sort of interested in that side of the, of the candles or of the business, I suppose. And then, of course, sniff them and compare them and to try to really see what the differences are between them. So let's go in chronological order. So first up is Salty Caramel, or Caramel, depending on your region. Was released originally by Slatkin Co. in 2011. So this year we have sort of a modified Boardwalk collection as well as the Lakeside collection. But in 2011, that saw the release of the original Boardwalk collection, which was Salty Caramel, Cotton Candy, and Lemon Gelato. And there was a fourth scent that was a test scent called Lime Ice that did not make it wide. So officially, 4 scents, but 3 scents that went wide. And they did call it, I believe, the Boardwalk collection. And the following year, 2012, of course, they released a full-on Boardwalk collection with the labeling you see there that was super popular. One of my favorite lines, really, that they've done in recent history. And that included Summer Boardwalk, Seashore, Beach Grass, Saltwater Taffy, Root Beer Float, Suntan, maybe 1 or 2 more that I'm missing. Oh, White Sand, Beach Cabana. There we go. 2 of my favorites. How could I forget those? Really, I think just that was a really exciting, interesting collection. There were no real duds in that. Some of the scents were fantastic, so much so that pretty much everything from that collection last year has been released this year, either as the same fragrance, or rather the same name, or just other names in the collection. So of course we have Summer Boardwalk, we have Beach Cabana. White Sand was kind of repackaged into Meet Me in Tahiti with a slight twist to it. Suntan became Poolside. Seashore became, I believe, the White Bar No. 3 Refresh candle. So really they were really popular fragrances and notes that have made their way into the collection this year as well, even though it was not part of an official Boardwalk collection. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's start with Salty Caramel. Now, I'm not usually a huge fan of bakery, super sort of gooey caramel scents. Now, I'm all about, apple scents and even things like apple crumble in the fall, and there are some bakery items that I really have loved over the years. I really enjoyed the Kitchen Spice candle, which sort of lends towards a caramel / spice sort of bakery note candle. But usually when it comes to like the ooey gooey sticky toffee pudding, bundt cake kind of bakery, I usually am not too into it. I'm not sure if it's just because it smells artificial to me, or if it's just too cloyingly sweet, or simply just because my tastes run a little more towards refreshing or spa, sort of herbal green fragrances. Obviously, you've seen my collections. I buy many different types of fragrances, so I'm not, super particular on that, but my tastes do lean sort of in that direction. But of course, this was an interesting candle at the time, so I did purchase it. Salty Caramel, wasn't sure what it was going to be. It looks obviously like sort of caramel corn in waffle cones. It's interesting. And the notes on it were sweet cream and caramel sprinkled with glazed pecans. So caramel, cream, and pecans. They don't mention the popcorn note here. Now you see this candle's 2 years old, and really it's only had a couple of burns on it, and that's because the first time I burned this was in a moderate to small sized apartment, and I burned it for a few hours, blew it out. It was in the evening. I went out. The next day I came back in the evening, and as I walked in the door, I could still smell the candle, which is really insane. Most candles, we're lucky if they have a decent throw when they're lit, and within 15-20 minutes of blowing them out, the scent is gone. This fragrance was so incredibly overpowering that it literally stuck in the fabric and in the walls for a full day after being lit, which at the time I just was not into it because it was just way too intense, too ooey gooey, drippy, and just overwhelming. Couldn't really blow it out and light something else right afterwards, which I like to do. Multiple scents throughout an evening, and it was just too much. But I've come around a bit to it. Now, smelling this, it's what everyone knows. It is not exactly the same as Summer Boardwalk, although it's very close. And it's funny, my love of Summer Boardwalk is sort of what's made me come around to actually enjoying this one again, because they're so similar. It sort of took me liking the other one to appreciate this one. It's got a lot of caramel, but it's at the same time it's not exactly, in my opinion, a fall or winter, cold weather caramel. You do really get some of the pecan notes. It's sort of like, to me, it's best expressed with sort of the photo here. Not so much the waffle cones, but really sort of like a real, almost like, kettle corn that has turned into caramel corn. Like if you were getting Cracker Jack, but really like a fresh festival or boardwalk version of that. You almost get some of the popcorn in there, because it's not just like a caramel, it's almost a buttery note to it. Very intense. You have the cream, you have the caramel, a bit of a popcorn, almost going towards the taffy or even toffee side of things. You almost get a bit of a toffee note with this. Even more so than just a sort of standard sweet caramel, because of it being so buttery. So that is Salty Caramel. The next candle that was released was, of course, Summer Boardwalk, everyone's new favorite or returning favorite now. Now, when it was first released, I loved the labeling on this one. It was sort of vintage throwback, sort of out of focus photos of a boardwalk in the summer. And the notes on this were like memories of the best summer spent at the beach, caramel glazed popcorn, warm taffy apples, and salted sweet cream. So a bit of a departure from the salty caramel candle in that they've added taffy apples, they mention a popcorn note, and they left out the glazed pecan note. So that doesn't always necessarily mean that it truly is different than the last release. Look at Paris Daydream, Sparkling Icicles, Flirt, the Mother's Day candle, the exact same scent, but with different notes listed on the bottom. However, this does seem a bit different. It certainly is heavy, primarily, and I know I'm speaking to the choir here, sort of everyone knows this, but it is very heavy on that toffee-like cream. So not just a caramel, not like a caramel candy, but really like a warm toffee or a warm caramel glaze, again coating popcorn, coating an apple. It's surprising how much apple you really do get in this. If you just were to hold this candle blind to someone, they probably wouldn't pick out apple, but when you're looking for it, it's one of those scents when you're looking for it, you can really pick it out. Hard to say if that's sort of, placebo effect, that you think it's there, so you're trying to find it. But in my mind, it is legitimately there. It's, of course, still heavy on the sweet cream, warm glazed taffy and toffee and caramel. But there is an apple there, too, that just freshens it up a little bit and made it a little less heavy than salty caramel. That said, the throws last year was still fantastic. Was super strong, still stuck around, but it was one notch lower than the salty caramel that I didn't like the year before. And then, because Summer Boardwalk was so incredibly popular last year, a and because people did like salty caramel as well. In the White Barn, when they debuted the Gold Lid White Barn collection, they released salted caramel. Again, just a slight name change from salty caramel. In the fall collection. So this lasted, it almost was entering the core collection. It lasted from, sometime in June or July, right when fall test scents started releasing, all the way up through, the holidays into the semi-annual sale. It was available. And it's just a very basic, the White Barn collection is more usually a basic image. And this is just literally swirled, soft caramel. Now the notes on this, a little different than the first two. We focus on here. Of course, they're going fall. Indulge on an autumn day with a swoon-worthy mixture of farm-fresh sweet cream, salted caramel, and warm vanilla. So they drop the popcorn, they drop the apple, they drop taffy, they leave out, glazed anything in pecans, and they're going just with cream, caramel, and vanilla. Now, when I smell this, I remember not liking it, which is really why I only have it in the 4-ounce here as opposed to a 3-wick. And it takes a lot for me to not want a 3-wick candle because, as you know, I buy so many of them. But this one, now, I don't know if maybe this lid was from a different candle and it got mixed up, but it smells very different. It's absolutely not Summer Boardwalk. But it's also not salty caramel from 2011. Let me try to pick this up and really I'm trying to rub the wax and really, release some oils in it. And the crazy thing about this is, as much as salty caramel was an incredibly strong candle, salted caramel is the exact opposite, and it's incredibly weak. It reminds me of hot buttered rum, where I really could almost I would smell it and it would smell almost like it was unscented. Like there was such a small amount of actual fragrance coming from it that it seemed kind of worthless to me. Comparing the two now even, granted it's a little bit difficult to compare, a 2-year-old candle that's been burned to a 1-year-old 4-ounce candle that hasn't been lit ever, but I mean, where salty caramel is authentic and heavy and sweet and rich, the salted caramel just, for me, it smells very cheap, light, kind of generic. It's like really any generic candle that you could get at a mass market. I would imagine like a Walmart candle. I mean, I know lots of folks do like tarts and things from Walmart and stores like that, but this just seems like such a generic, boring candle. Almost, what it actually is more, if anyone shops at IKEA and they sell scented candles there, it's super, super cheap. This would be like the caramel candle there, or the sweet cream candle. It's got little to nothing going on. So weird to me that was sort of the follow-up sister scent to salty caramel, because they couldn't, in my opinion, be more different. And that's the story on that. Moving on to this year, Summer Boardwalk Limited Edition 2013. Really happy to see this back. Like I said earlier in the video here, the official Boardwalk collection from last year has mostly been re-released in various collections this year. So Suntan became Poolside, Beachgrass, I don't think that didn't come back. But again, Seashore, I believe, was re-released as the White Barn Refresh and Restore, whatever that is, White Barn number 3. White Sand was sort of retooled into the Meet Me in Tahiti. We're not seeing Root Beer Float, but there's a Summertime Soda. And in my opinion, I know it's not one of the most popular opinions, but I think that Strawberry Picnic is quite similar, for me at least, to Saltwater Taffy from last year. So, again, most of the scents from last year have returned. It's kind of surprising that Summer Boardwalk didn't, but now we know why. They decided to add it sort of surprisingly as sort of a one-off release, where perhaps that's why they're calling it limited edition, just because it's the font and the image, based on that, it seems like they're adding it as part of their tropical beach collection that's been out since January. Your Beach Cabana, your Island Margarita, your Caribbean Escape, all of those. That's the marketing that it's matching. but because it's coming out on its own and probably will only be out really for May, June, and maybe into July through the semi-annual sale, I suppose that's what makes it limited edition as opposed to a scent that the other scents that will be sticking around basically from January to June or July. And the image, it's an update, of the other one. It's got the Ferris wheel going. And if we sniff this, again, it is essentially the exact same as last year. I almost feel like, though, when I'm smelling that and comparing the two, not that there really needs to be a big comparison because they are essentially the same thing. Could be just that the oils in the new one are fresher, but to me, it's a little bit, I'm getting a little bit more of the apple, which could be totally in my head, but if not, it's certainly welcome. I really like the apple note that's in the candle to pull it away from being just a bakery gooey ooey scent. It adds that other little layer to it that really does make it, the sense of summer from the boardwalk. And the notes on this one match exactly from last year, memories of summer at the beach, caramel glazed popcorn, warm taffy apples, and salted sweet cream. Really just fantastic. Now, I grabbed two of these because, I figured limited edition, it would sell out quickly, it's everyone's favorite. So I did purchase two of them. And just to show you here, I know I'm not usually talking about burns and things, but it burned wonderfully. This was maybe 2 hours worth of burn last night. It pooled perfectly. It didn't even get the huge mushroom tops. So really, when I relight this, I'm probably not even going to have to trim the wicks, which is kind of rare at this point. I usually always trim wicks with the newer Bath & Body Works candles, but that was a perfect burn. Really intense. Funnily enough, I came home today, walked in the front door, and when I first walked in, I got one strong whiff of that fragrance from being lit 20 hours ago. So still has the staying power, still is fantastically strong. Kind of everything you want it to be. Really the perfect summer carnival scent. I love the beach scents. Beach Cabana for me can't be beat. And even some of the tropical drink scents are really great. Lighting them at the right time. But as far as just a unique bakery or sweet caramel scent, you can't go wrong with Summer Boardwalk. So again, here I am, news and surprise to no one, turning a quick Summer Boardwalk review into an 18-minute video. Seems to be typical for me these days. So if you've stuck around, I do appreciate that. If you have any questions, please let me know. I hope you like sort of the little history or retrospect here and diving into some of the older scents here. It's fun for me, at least, comparing them. So stay tuned. I've got some similar videos like that coming up. Any questions, comments, hit me up below. And until next time, take care.